We have been lied to about the fundamental physics of success because the universe doesn't actually possess a moral compass. It possesses a resonance for impact that often leaves the most virtuous people standing in the dust of those we consider the villains of history. If you look at the world right now, there is this nagging, painful feeling that the math of morality just isn't adding up. We are raised on a diet of fairy tales and superhero movies that promise us a cosmic justice system where the good guy gets the girl, the gold, and the glory, while the bad guy falls off a cliff in the final act. But then we step outside into the real world and we see the exact opposite happening. We see the person who lied on their papers getting the promotion, the cutthroat CEO becoming a billionaire, and the person who treats everyone like a stepping stone living in a mansion, while the kindest, most selfless person we know is struggling just to pay their rent. It creates this massive internal friction because it feels like a glitch in the matrix. We start asking if the universe is rigged or if it's just fundamentally broken, but the truth is much more unsettling than that. The universe isn't broken and it's not punishing you for being good. The reality is that the universe is completely indifferent to your heart, but it is hypersensitive to your actions and your alignment with the laws of cause and effect. Think of the universe like a massive, impersonal electrical grid. If a saint touches a live wire, they get electrocuted. If a serial killer flips a light switch, the light turns on. The electricity doesn't care about the character of the person interacting with it. It only cares if the circuit is closed. This is the first big realization we have to swallow if we want to understand why bad people seem to win. Success, wealth, and power are not rewards for being a nice person. They are the logical results of specific behaviors like risk-taking, ruthlessness, obsession, and the ability to command resources. A bad person is often someone who has completely shed the social baggage of needing to be liked, which gives them a terrifyingly efficient straight line to what they want. They aren't distracted by the moral friction that slows the rest of us down. Therefore, they move faster. But this creates a massive curiosity loop for us. If being bad is so much more efficient, why does society still push the narrative of being good so hard? Is it just a control mechanism to keep the masses from becoming predators? Or is there a hidden cost to the bad person's victory that we don't see until it's too late? Most people assume that the bad person is enjoying their spoils in total peace, but there is a hidden decay that starts to happen when you violate the social contract. However, before we even get to that, we have to look at the good person trap. Many people who identify as good are actually just passive. They confuse being harmless with being virtuous. If you are a good person simply because you lack the teeth to be a bad person, the universe doesn't reward that because you aren't actually doing anything. You're just existing quietly. The bad person, for all their flaws, is usually an agent of extreme action. They are out there shaking the tree, and even if they are doing it for selfish reasons, the fruit is going to fall for them, not for the person standing nearby hoping for a miracle. It's like a garden. If a cruel person spends all day watering, weeding, and fertilizing their garden, they will have a beautiful harvest. If a kind, loving person ignores their garden and just prays for it to grow, they will have weeds. The universe rewards the labor, not the intent, but here is where the chaos twist comes in. While the universe rewards the mechanics of action, it also operates on a principle of long-term equilibrium. The bad person wins the sprint, but they almost always trip during the marathon. When you build a life on the exploitation of others, you are essentially building a house on a foundation of resentment. That resentment is a real, physical force. It's like a debt that earns interest every single day. You might see the bad person sitting on their throne today, but you aren't seeing the hundreds of people underneath that throne who are waiting for one single moment of weakness to pull the whole thing down. The good person, who is also an agent of action, builds a foundation of allies. This is a slower process. It takes much longer to build wealth and power through cooperation than it does through theft or manipulation. Therefore, the bad people always seem to be ahead in the short term. It's a classic tortoise and the hare situation, but with much higher stakes. We often feel the universe is rewarding bad people because we are looking at a very small slice of time. We see the bad person in their prime and we feel the injustice of it. But if you zoom out, you start to see the systemic collapse that follows those who live outside the bounds of human empathy. Their lives are often characterized by a profound, haunting loneliness and a constant, vibrating paranoia. They can't trust anyone because they know exactly what they would do in someone else's shoes. This brings us to a concept I'll explain more deeply in a moment, which is the idea of internal vs external rewards. Most of us are looking at the external rewards, the cars, the money, the status. We assume that because someone has the external reward, they must be winning. But the universe has a way of balancing the books inside the human mind. There is a specific type of psychological suffering that is reserved exclusively for those who have achieved everything by sacrificing their humanity. It's a feeling of being a ghost in your own life, but wait, we have to address the elephant in the room. What about the truly good people who suffer for no reason? The people who work hard, help others, and still get hit by a terminal illness or lose everything in a natural disaster. This is where the fairness narrative completely breaks down. This is the missing piece that most spiritual teachers are afraid to talk about. The universe is not a judge, it is a laboratory. It is testing for resilience, not for compliance. When a good person suffers, we call it a tragedy. When a bad person suffers, we call it karma. But the suffering itself is often just the result of random variables in a complex system. The reason we feel so much pain when bad things happen to good people is that we are projecting a human sense of should onto a system that only understands is. We think the world should be fair. But the world is actually just balanced, and balance is a much colder, much more mathematical concept than fairness. Think of a forest fire. A forest fire doesn't check the heart of a tree before it burns it down. It doesn't matter if that tree provided shade for thousands of animals or if it was a rotting stump. If the conditions are right, it burns. Many bad people are experts at reading the conditions. They know how to position themselves so they don't get burned. They understand the terrain of power better than the good people do because they spend all their time studying it, whereas good people spend their time studying how to be better people. There's a huge difference between being a good person and being a competent person. The universe rewards competence far more consistently than it rewards goodness. This is a bitter pill to swallow, but it's the key to changing your life. If you want the rewards that the bad people are getting, you don't have to become a bad person, but you do have to start adopting their level of intent and their level of action. You have to stop waiting for your goodness to be traded in for chips like a casino. The universe doesn't have a cashier's desk where you can swap your kindness for a paycheck. You have to go out and take the paycheck. The bad person's secret is that they believe they deserve the world, so they act accordingly. The good person often feels they have to earn the right to exist through self-sacrifice, so they wait for permission. That wait is what kills your progress, but here is the dramatic realization. When a good person finally decides to stop waiting and starts acting with the same intensity as the bad person, they become unstoppable. Why? Because they don't have the debt of resentment holding them back. They have the wind of support at their backs. A competent, driven, ambitious good person is the most powerful force in the human experience, but they are incredibly rare because most good people are afraid that power itself is evil. They see the bad people with power and they think, I don't want to be like that, so they stay small, they stay weak, and then they complain that the universe is rewarding the bad people. In reality, the bad people were just the only ones who showed up to claim the prize. This is the invisible loop I mentioned earlier. The reason the bad people win is not because they are bad, but because they are bold. The reason the good people lose is not because they are good, but because they are hesitant. The badness and goodness are actually secondary to the boldness. If you could strip away the morality and just look at the physics of it, you would see that the universe is simply responding to the person who pushes the hardest. But the story doesn't end there. There is a breaking point. Every system has a limit to how much badness it can tolerate before it self-corrects. When a bad person takes too much, they create a vacuum. And the universe abhors a vacuum. Eventually, the system will move to fill that space, often violently. This is why we see the spectacular falls of dictators, corrupt moguls, and scammers. They flew too close to the sun using wings they stole from others. The wax melts, it always melts. The good person's reward is often invisible to the outside world, but it is the only thing that actually provides a stable foundation for a long life. It is the ability to look in the mirror and not see a stranger. It's the ability to sleep without wondering who is coming for you. But we have to stop using that as an excuse for being unsuccessful in the material world. We have to stop being good as a way to hide from the responsibility of being powerful. If you are frustrated that the bad people in your office or your industry are winning, the answer isn't to hope the universe strikes them down. The answer is to look at what they are doing effectively. Are they more disciplined? Are they better negotiators? Do they take more risks? If you can take those neutral skills and apply them to your good intent, you change the entire equation. You stop being a victim of the universe's indifference and you start becoming a master of its laws. We also have to consider the idea of contrast. We only notice when bad people win because it shocks our system. We don't notice the millions of good people who are quietly successful because that feels right to us. It doesn't trigger our survival instincts. It doesn't make us angry. So we have a massive reporting bias in our own minds. We ignore the successful good people and we obsess over the successful bad people. which makes us believe the bad people are the only ones winning. It's like looking at a field of white flowers and only noticing the one black weed. Our focus on the bad success is actually what's making us miserable. We are feeding the very reality we claim to hate. The universe is a mirror of your energy and your output, not your inner thoughts. If you output high-value actions, you get high-value results. If a bad person outputs high-value actions, they get those results too. The morality is what you do with the results once you have them. The bad person uses them to build a wall, the good person uses them to build a bridge, but both have to build. The universe won't build for you just because you're nice. This is the ultimate uncertainty. We want to guarantee that being a good person will protect us from the storms of life, but there is no such guarantee. The only guarantee is that being a good person gives you a higher quality of internal life, while being a competent person gives you a higher quality of external life. To truly win the game, you have to be both. You have to be dangerously good. Most people spend their whole lives waiting for a cosmic referee to blow a whistle and penalize the bad people. They waste their energy watching the other players cheat instead of mastering the game themselves. But the referee isn't coming. The game just keeps playing. The bad people will keep winning as long as they are the only ones playing with total commitment. If you want the world to change, you have to stop being harmless and start being formidable. You have to realize that the universe doesn't favor the bad, it favors the active. It's time to stop letting the bad people have a monopoly on ambition. It's time to stop letting them be the only ones who are willing to reach for the stars. Because when good people stop reaching, the world goes dark. The universe isn't rewarding them for their cruelty, it's rewarding them for their hunger. And if you aren't hungry, you can't complain that someone else is eating your lunch. There is a final, deeper layer to this that most people never reach. It's the realization that good and bad are often just labels we use to describe how someone else's success makes us feel. If someone wins and we like them, they are talented. If they win and we don't like them, they are lucky or evil. We have to be careful not to use morality as a shield for our own envy. Sometimes the bad person isn't actually bad, they are just more honest about what it takes to win. And sometimes the good person isn't actually good, they are just more afraid of the consequences of trying. This is the ultimate chaos twist in the narrative. The line between good and evil doesn't run between us and them. It runs right through the center of every human heart. And the universe is just waiting to see which side of yourself you're going to feed today. It's a terrifying amount of responsibility, isn't it? To realize that your lack of success might not be because you're too good, but because you're not brave enough. But that realization is also the only thing that can actually set you free. It means the power to change your outcome isn't in the hands of a mysterious cosmic judge. It's in your hands. It's in your willingness to be as bold as the people you despise. The universe is waiting for you to stop being a spectator of other people's bad wins and start being the architect of your own good ones. It's a long, hard road to build something meaningful without cutting corners, but the view from the top is much better when you don't have to worry about who's coming up behind you. And yet there's still that one question that haunts us in the middle of the night, the one about the person who does everything right and still loses it all. Perhaps the universe isn't testing our ability to win, but our ability to remain ourselves when we lose everything.